Hi, and welcome to episode 11 of Hockeycards.se, the podcast. We're at the conference final stage of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and the finals in the IIHF World Championship tournament are played today. And the PWHL are in their final stage, so in this episode we'll be sharing some reflections on all these playoffs going on. The NHL 2024 awards are starting to roll in, and we will go through all of the awards and which one means what. It might not be immediately obvious to everyone exactly what the Masterton Trophy is awarded for, to name one example. We will make a brief update on the upcoming releases that we will see hit the market over the next few weeks. And finally, we will do our weekly follow-up of Bedard prices and pop counts in our Bedard Mania segment. If you're listening to this episode on YouTube, please like and subscribe to our channel to help us grow the content. Our YouTube channel will also feature pack opening videos and box walkthroughs. You can join the Hockeycards.se Facebook group for instant updates on what's happening in the Hockeycards.se universe, as well as chatting all things hockey cards with us and the other members. And if you haven't already, please check out our website, Hockeycards.se. It's filled with free tutorials, hobby news, and product news for hockey card collecting. You will also find YouTube resources, Instagram accounts, and a lot of useful links to more in-depth information at the site. Right, let's get this episode started. The conference finals in the Stanley Cup playoffs are underway, meaning we're down to 4 teams that can win this year's championship: Oilers, Dallas, Rangers, and Panthers. Looking back at our playoff predictions from episode 6, we can see that we did pretty well in predicting the first round of the playoffs. However, we seem to suck completely at predicting the final 4 teams. We only picked 1 out of 4 correctly, and that's the Oilers. The playoffs have seen some fantastic hockey and some surprises. Toronto went down again in the first round in 7 games against the Boston Bruins that very few people thought would make the playoffs at all. This led to Toronto firing their coach Sheldon Keefe, who already have found a new job with the New Jersey Devils. As always with Toronto, there's a ton of speculation of what will happen with the roster during the summer. Keeping Nylander, Tavares, Marner, and Matthews together might be a considerable challenge in terms of cap space if they're also to strengthen the team. The reigning champions Vegas Golden Knights went down early in the playoffs despite being very aggressive at the trade deadline and adding several high-quality players. Florida once again beat the Bruins in the playoffs just like last year. This year, the Panthers were noticeably better than the Bruins across the series, and Florida also had a good trade deadline this year. Vancouver Canucks took the Oilers to Game 7, but ultimately lost. I think the team in general is pretty happy with their performance, both during the regular season and the playoffs. They managed a good playoff run despite injuries to both their number 1 and number 2 goalies. Arthur Silovs, Latvia's hero from the IIHF World Championship last year, stepped up and played very well as their replacement. Elias Pettersson suffered a lot of criticism for not being better than he was in the playoffs. Ultimately, he had 6 points in 13 playoff games, playing through a knee injury. It will be interesting to see what adjustments Vancouver does to their roster in the offseason. There's another Elias on the Canucks roster in Elias Lindholm, who might be too expensive to keep, and it would be interesting to see where he ends up. There are some teams who are desperately looking for more center depth, the Bruins being one of them. Dallas look incredibly strong and have a very good playoff run so far without having a major superstar on their roster. Jason Robertson managed 80 points in 82 regular season games, compared to Oilers' McDavid, who did manage 132 points, and Draisaitl, also with the Oilers, who managed 106. Oilers, as usual, play an aggressive offensive game with lots of scoring, and is less fantastic in the defensive end. With their defense and goalkeeping, they will need to score a lot of goals to win games, although they seem to have been able to stop the bleeding in their defense compared to last year, with additions such as Mattias Ekholm in their defense. In the IIHF World Championships, teams have come with rosters loaded with NHL stars this year. It seems that next year's Four Nations tournament and the upcoming Olympics, where the NHL will take a break to make all players available to their national teams, is drawing the stars back to the World Championships as well. As an example, we have Victor Hedman, Erik Karlsson, and Rasmus Dahlin on Sweden's defense. That's 2 Norris Trophy winners and 1 first overall draft pick. In Canada, we see players like Connor Bedard, John Tavares, and Owen Power, to name a few. USA boasts a roster with Matt Boldy, Cole Caulfield, Brady Tkachuk, Johnny Gaudreau, Seth Jones, Luke Hughes, Trevor Segras, and more. Czechia carries David Pasternak, Pavel Zacha, and Andrei Palat. In Switzerland, we find Nico Hischier, Kevin Fiala, Philipp Kurashev, and Akira Schmid. What's maybe most interesting to see while watching these games is the intense joy that these NHL players express when their team scores. It's about 2,000 times more emotions and more joy than scoring a goal in the regular NHL season. And if I were to compare it to anything, I'd say it's equivalent to Game 7 goal scoring in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's clear that the players love playing for their country and that it means a lot to them. This is something I think the NHL need to recognize going forwards. Not only is it good publicity for hockey in general, which will help grow the sport, including growing international interest for the NHL, it's also an important thing to these players personally and their careers. When the NHL withdrew last minute from the last Olympics, there were some very emotional comments from some players, particularly the ones in their 30s, who may have missed their last chance to represent their country in the Olympics. Another interesting thing to observe is the crowd in the arenas. I wish North American hockey fans could watch and experience the electric atmosphere in European arenas firsthand and bring that atmosphere back to the NHL. The passion of the home crowd and the noise level is absolutely amazing. Finally, we will have the home nation of Czechia facing Switzerland in the finals today, with Sweden and Canada playing the bronze medal game. USA, who arguably had the most star-filled roster of any team, got knocked out already in the quarterfinals. With my record of predicting the Stanley Cup Conference Finals, I won't be making any predictions on who takes what medal in this tournament, but especially the final is going to be an amazing game to watch. In the first ever PWHL finals, we see Boston facing Minnesota in a best-of-5 game series. At the time of this recording, Minnesota leads the series 2-1. I don't know a great deal about the PWHL, but I do know that they are making a real push trying to establish professional women's hockey in North America. The teams have a salary cap, but there is also a minimum salary that's supposed to be high enough to make sure players can focus on hockey. I don't remember exactly how much it is, but I think it's around $35,000. To my understanding, there are also measures in place to facilitate trades taking place, such as support with moving all your stuff and finding a new accommodation in a new city. The NHL is involved to some extent in marketing the league, and some games have been played in sold-out NHL stadiums. To my knowledge, the NHL is not actively involved in investing in the league in any other capacity, though. I was in Boston in February of this year, and I had the opportunity to go see Boston at home against New York. I was positively surprised regarding the pace and skill level of the game. Some checking is allowed, which really helps with the intensity of the game, and I hope they can expand on the checking and maybe introduce the same checking rules as the Swedish Women's Hockey League did in the 22-23 season, where the only difference to the men's game now is that open ice hits between players traveling in opposing directions are banned. I'm assuming this is to avoid head injuries and concussions. All other types of checking is allowed, and it really helps with the pace of the game, the intensity of the game. And we saw that Sweden, for example, in the last Women's World Championships, played a lot better than they had in the years past. Maybe because they were used to a physical game from the start. What I'm most looking forward to with the PWHL is to see if there will be an expansion from the original 6 teams next season, and to see Upper Deck release a set of PWHL hockey cards. Upper Deck announced having signed an agreement to do so about 2 months ago. Right, NHL Awards. Every year, there's a bunch of awards being handed out at the end of the season. They're not disclosed or awarded at the same time, so they sort of trickle in. And the first few awards have now been announced. I thought we'd go through both the ones who have been announced and the ones who haven't. Because it's not immediately obvious what trophy is awarded for what type of achievement. Most of them are named after people who lived and played the game a very long time ago. And especially if you haven't followed the NHL closely for the last 80 years, maybe you don't know exactly who these people are. So let's start with the awards that have been awarded already. So first up, the Art Ross Trophy. The Art Ross Trophy is awarded to the player who scores the most points in the regular season. And this year it was Nikita Kucherov of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Secondly, we have the Maurice Richard Trophy, who is awarded to the player who scores the most goals. And this year, of course, Auston Matthews, 69 goals, on the brink of becoming historic as one of very few players to score 70 goals. Then we have the William M. Jennings Trophy, who is awarded to the goalie with the fewest goals allowed, having played a minimum of a certain amount of games, I think 20. This year's winner is Connor Hellebuyck of the Winnipeg Jets. And it was very interesting then to see this probable Vezina winner from the regular season enter the playoffs and then concede like 7 goals per game in the playoffs. Not all goals are due to the goalie though. You need a defense in front of you to play as well. But still a bit surprising. Right, the fourth trophy who's been awarded already is the President's Trophy, which is awarded to the team who gets the most points during the regular season in terms of wins this year. New York Rangers was the best team in the regular season. We also have the Mark Messier Leadership Award, which is a kind of a new award. That one was awarded to Jacob Trouba of the New York Rangers. We have the Masterton Award, which is awarded for dedication to hockey as well as sportsmanship. Connor Ingram of the Arizona Coyotes won that award. Selke is awarded to the best defensive forward in the NHL. And this year's winner is Alexander Barkov of the Florida Panthers. Patrice Bergeron of the Boston Bruins used to win this every year, but now that he's retired, other players get a chance as well. And finally, of the awards already announced, we have the Jack Adams Award for Coach of the Year, which is awarded to Rick Tocchet of the Vancouver Canucks. And then there's a bunch of awards where we have nominees, but the winner has not been announced or voted on yet. Some of these awards are voted on by players. Some of these awards are voted on by journalists. Some of these awards are voted on by general managers. The awards not yet awarded, we have the Hart Trophy, which is for the MVP, the league MVP of the regular season. The 3 nominees are Nikita Kucherov of the Tampa Bay Lightning, Nathan MacKinnon of the Avalanche, and Connor McDavid of the Oilers. Then we have the Ted Lindsay Award, which is also an MVP award, best player, but as voted by the NHLPA, so the Players Association. Here we also have 3 nominees, Nikita Kucherov and Nathan MacKinnon, again, but not Connor McDavid. Instead, they have nominated Auston Matthews. For the Vezina, which is awarded for best goalie, the nominees are Sergei Bobrovsky, Thatcher Demko, and Connor Hellebuyck. So last year's winner, Linus Ullmark, is not one of the nominees this year. The Calder Trophy for best rookie, the nominees are Connor Bedard, Brock Faber, and Luke Hughes. The Norris Trophy for Best Defenseman. The nominees are Quinn Hughes, Roman Josi, and Cale Makar. The Norris Trophy is a bit special, I think, because it's supposed to be awarded to the best defenseman, but it's not like defensive defensemen get a lot of love in these votes, in the votes or nominations for the Norris. It's mainly offensive defensemen that get nominated. The Gregory Award is for the General Manager of the Year. Here we have 3 nominees. Patrick Alvin, a Swede actually, of the Vancouver Canucks. Jim Nill of the Dallas Stars. And Bill Zito of the Florida Panthers. King Clancy is an award awarded for leadership on and off the ice, as well as humanitarian efforts, such as spending your time volunteering. Here we have 32 nominees. I will not go through them all, but each NHL team have selected 1 player from their team to nominate. The Lady Byng Award is an award that combines high-level skill with a gentleman approach on and off the ice. And the 3 nominees are Auston Matthews, Elias Pettersson, and Jacob Slavin. So basically, if you're highly skilled and don't get a lot of penalty minutes, then you can get nominated for Lady Byng. Finally, we have the Willie O'Ree Community Hero Award, where there are several people nominated that are not NHL players or coaches. So these are more community people in different areas. I will read out the names. If you have heard any of them, please let me know, because I have not. Mark Bergen, Mark Demanis, Jerry Duvall, Alan Hearley, Kelsey McGuire, and Estella Rivas Bryant. Of course, there's also the MVP of the playoffs, where there are no nominees yet. Release calendar. So in our last episode, we went through the latest updates as communicated by Upper Deck for the upcoming releases in June. As things stand now, it seems that 23-24 Synergy is still on track for a June 5th release and will be the next product out the gates, although no checklist has been published yet. 23-24 Extended, though, appears to have been bumped by a week. So last week, the preliminary release date for Extended Hobby was June 12th and Retail on June 19th. Now it appears that June 19th will be the earliest date for Extended Hobby as well, although these dates are always subject to change until we have a checklist published. There will of course be even more Bedard cards to chase in both Synergy and Extended, and Extended will notably carry the Connor Bedard Young Guns canvas card, which has a very unique design that we showed in episode 10 of this podcast. We will do a deep dive in the product configuration and checklist of both of these products in future episodes, as soon as the checklist is published. Time for our weekly tracker of the pop count and sales prices of Connor Bedard's PSA 10 base Young Guns card. Our prediction that we're tracking against is that we will hit 10,000 PSA 10s before Christmas, or roughly twice the amount of Kirill Kaprizov's PSA 10 base Young Guns card, which is currently the leading Young Guns card in terms of PSA 10 pop count. Today, 9 weeks after we started tracking, the pop count is 3,003. So in just 2.5 months after release, we have more than 3,000 PSA 10s. That's pretty insane to me. We're up by 274 cards since last week. The lowest recorded sale in the last 24 hours is at $829, which is down by only $30 since last week. The gem rate is holding steady at 45%. We will continue to track the pop count and prices of Bedard's PSA 10 base Young Guns card in future episodes. That's it for episode 11. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe and help us grow the content. See you again in episode 12.